Mount Panorama Bathurst. For 50 years, this has been the great Australian race.
6 hours, 32 minutes, 25 seconds their time for the 500 miles.
A scene we've never seen before, side by side.
And the crowd really giving Peter Brock a send-off.
What a race and what a victory this is going to be for Larry Perkins.
This victory will make them Bathurst immortals.
Today on V8 Extra, the men that conquered the mountain tell their special story.
Hello everybody. Thank you very much for joining us again on V8 Extra. Great to have your company. We've got a very special show lined up today and we've got a very special audience here to celebrate. Welcome folks. Today on the program, we're going to celebrate 5 decades, 50 years of racing at Bathurst, and as I said a few moments ago, we've got a ripper show sorted. Now, we toss words around like legend and icon, and we're a bit frivolous with them, but I'm very pleased to say that we've genuinely got some iconic cars here, the cars that we've cheered over the years at Bathurst, and we've got 5 very, very special superstar drivers, the guys that have done extraordinary things there and set the bar very high. The guys that we've got together have 4 or more wins against their career tally at Mount Panorama. They've won 50% of the races in the last 5 decades. I refer to Alan Moffat, to Larry Perkins, Craig Lowndes, Mark Skaife, and we've also got Greg Murphy with us today as well. It's fantastic. Unbelievably hard to get these guys all in the one place at the one time, particularly with these cars, so it is a great privilege. It's also a privilege now to welcome our first guest, the man who's won 4 great races at Mount Panorama, the Ford pin-up boy from the 70s. Please welcome my friend Alan Moffat.
Thank you.
Hello, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a seat.
Thank you very much.
Very much for joining us today. It's awesome to have all this machinery around and to have all you guys here, and for you to join us also, Alan. Can you honestly believe that it's 35 years since you put together a win in that car back in 1977?
No. I try to kid myself, but of course the days go by. It's a little bit hard to swallow.
Well, it's a very special memory for all of us, because the Ford 1-2, you and Bondi, the big 1-2 finish, the form finish. This is an image that's etched in all of our minds in international motorsport, not just Australian motorsport.
It was etched in my mind as we turned the corner because my brake pedal was on the floor. And I thought, if Colin decides to gun it, I'm in trouble here. But I sent him a little psychic message that said, mate, remember who's signing the checks tomorrow. And he was a great teammate, team player, and it was a great... The success was the fact that Colin was such a good driver, never scratched the car, never had any trouble with it at all. And we just had that wonderful... I have to say it, I feel sorry in my heart, really. But there were no Holdens in our rear mirrors that way.
Some of these folks may not like that notion.
I don't know what happened to them, but it was a fantastic day to remember. And of course, with Jackie Hicks as my co-driver was really something thrilling. And nobody crashed the cars. This was really 1,000 kilometers, 2 cars. Doing it with 1 car is a trick. To get 2 cars to finish like that was a credit to the team that we put together.
Bathurst is special. That's the whole purpose of this program. But can you remember your debut back in 1969 and your recollections of this very special racetrack?
Well, in those days we didn't have all week to practice. We just got there on Friday and set up, and then it was practice on Saturday morning, and off we went on Sunday. But the Ford team boys said, we better take you up and show you the circuit. I said, fine, let's go. And they stopped on Skyline. And in those days at Skyline, there was no fence on the left, no cement wall. And I said, oh, this is nice. There's the town, there's the pits, good. But we better get on. We're hustling for time. Take me to the circuit. You're on the circuit. I never looked left again. From that day. I thought, I don't want to know that's an 800-foot drop. I'm going to always look to the right, and I'll take care of the dipper when I get there. But that was fairly scary in those days.
You talk about the top of the mountain, which is a favourite for many of the drivers, but this place can bite as well. 1986, Mobil, Holden dealer team, Commodore. I just recall you having a little meeting with the concrete wall there at one point.
Again, practicing on Saturday, and that was my fault. The right rear tyre dropped into the sand. The car instantly turned left at 150 plus. I went up and the front wheels were actually over the wall. I thought I was going to become the first Australian astronaut. But the car fell down on the ground and the guys worked well, for a day and a half. Stuff was shot up from Holden to repair the car, and it actually, the first time we practiced on the Sunday morning, I said to Brookie, the car's better than it was before. We should crash them more often. It actually was feeling better with the new parts on it.
Alan, we'll get you to stay there. We've got a lot of chat to come. We've got a very special show sorted today. Coming up in just a moment, the 6-time winner at Mount Panorama, Larry Perkins, is going to join us. And of course, as you know, Larry focused a lot on putting together very special Sundays at Bathurst, but he also got it together once for a pole position back in 1993. Enjoy this.
There's a man that we call the Prince of the Privateers running for Castrol.
The only man amongst this leading pack running the production-based Holden V8. Really is somewhat of a Holden hero up here at Bathurst. Oh, look at it twitch sideways as he came over the top.
Go Larry towards Caltech's chase. Here comes Perkins across the strike.
13.01. Another half a second off Skaife.
Yes,
Ooh,
the wheel's not on.
That, the wheel's loose, mate, and he's going to be very, very lucky to get that all the way around.
Obviously, Larry, you know what's wrong and you're taking it very steady.
I'm certainly taking it steady. I've got either a dead flat front tyre or it's falling off or something.
It's very loose, Larry. You'll need to be very careful through the pit entry lane. Oh, look at that wheel. Almost buckling under the car.
As such, it's not quite... Oh, boy, that didn't take much.
Welcome back to V8 Extra. Larry Perkins in 1985, Dick Johnson Racing, the one and only time that he drove a Ford product. Alan Moffat in the commentary box for Channel 7 at the time. Of course, the beginning of the Group A era, and we're on the eve of Car of the Future, another big change coming in the history of Australian motorsport. Time now to welcome our next guest. Put your hands together, please, for the 6-time Bathurst winner, Larry Perkins.
Nice to see you. G'day, young fella. How you doing?
Come and join us, LP.
Cheers.
Now, you have a remarkable story to tell at Mount Panorama, and thank you very much for joining us. But you jumped onto the podium in year 1, 1977, and you started a string of success that it's eye-goggling to look at. 3 podiums in a row, a DNF, and then 3 wins in a row. You clicked straight away.
Lucky. Yeah, it was pretty good. I came out from messing around over there for years, and came out with Peter Jansen in '77. Went up there, come third. I thought that's not too bad, and I missed the next year. I didn't come out at all, and then I came out and got 2 seconds. I thought this is pretty simple.
Simple, isn't it?
Only old guys like this.
You were in a Ford. What else did you need, right?
No, not then. No.
He said you were lucky. Were you lucky or were you smart?
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes you do make your own luck, but a Bathurst win's all about your preparation of your team and your co-driver, and all. It's all got to click together. And those first 6 years, as you just mentioned, 7 years, everything was clicking just so well. I thought.
What's all the fuss
It really
about?
was remarkable, yeah.
Well, and all the more remarkable because you made the point that you, at the time, were doing European single-seater racing all the way up to Formula One. So these cars were the antithesis. This is at the opposite end of the sporting and technical scale.
Definitely the end of the technical scale. The wrong end. I couldn't believe it when I first drove a touring car. It didn't have any brakes. I came into the pit straight away. I said,
"What's the matter?
The brakes don't work." I said, "No, that's how they are." And yeah, so there's a bit of learning to go on.
Now, you had some great rivalry with this guy. These days, you're very close friends. But, I mean, at times it was almost bitter, wasn't it, in the battle that you were a part of the Holden squad, he was very much Ford, and then subsequently Mazda, and it was on there for many years.
Basically, I never even knew he was behind me because, you know...
Never was.
I kept hearing this name occasionally on the lawn when he was getting the cup and I was going home on the trailer.
No, it was good competition, to be honest, and certainly good memories of it back then, and yeah, you wouldn't swap them for anything. Yeah?
No, indeed. On top of the success, once or twice the place has bitten you, Larry. I recall making a little error coming into the pit lane once, and you were pretty hard on yourself about that. Just talk us through that.
Oh, God, I was trying to forget that. I'm
Sorry.
looking at it now. Yeah, it just started to rain at Bathurst, and I passed to somebody to take the lead, and had a good lead for a while, and I was a little bit overexcited coming into the pits to hand over to Russell Ingle, and I dropped my back wheel onto the line, and at the same time used too much gas, horsepower. Holden's had a lot of horsepower, and I did a stupid spin there. And I say now, I've got the luxury of saying we've had 6 wins and 1 loss. That was the loss.
You've always been pretty forthright and pretty hard on yourself too, because I can remember the little error up at the cutting in 2003. I spoke to you on television just afterwards, and you said to me at that stage that it was an unacceptable mistake, and basically that was game over for you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and it was a practice mistake. I went into a turn without concentrating and at far too high a speed, and the telemetry thing tells you it was about 15 k's faster than you should have. I was busy arguing with people on the phone, officials, as you probably know me, and yeah, I made a big error and nearly didn't make Bathurst, but it was a turning point. Very clear to me that once you can't concentrate in racing, yeah, give it up.
You're a participant, Larry, in the Group C era, the Group A era, lots of groups here, and then V8 Supercar, and now we're on the eve of another chapter change with the car of the future. You've got a unique insight. What are your thoughts about our new car?
Well, each time a new model's come on, or a new category, as you say, it's always been for the betterment of the sport. And, you know, guys do sometimes say, oh, not like the good old days, and I say, thank Christ for that. And I think this car of the future, which really is, the name's a bit wrong, it's allowing the category rules to change to allow the manufacturers to come in. And I think history will prove that that was a very good decision made by V8 Supercars to open it up to more than Holden and Ford. I mean, it was a great innings from '92 to now, just with the Holden and Ford, but hey, you got to keep moving on.
Indeed. Just quickly, you were opponents and then you got to work together at one point. Was that enjoyable?
Well, we worked together in those early days mostly on V8 Supercars. Back then it was called TIGA. We had associations of owners and drivers, etc. And really that was the hard work. We put in many hours at night, you know, beating each other up in the boardroom, our own little boardroom over rules, etc. But yes, I think it was well worth it when you look back now.
All right, well, stay with us. We've got lots more chat to come. We're going to take a break. After the break, Craig Lowndes is going to join us. But let's go to the break and have a look at a fresh-faced young Craig grabbing his first podium. Stay with us.
Tucking right under the wing of car 17. You couldn't get much closer than that.
7.83.
Oh, and he's got it! He's put one on him up the hill. I didn't think it was possible.
This kid is dynamite. Peter Brock with his daughter there.
He's much happier now.
Watching the race as his teammate. Extraordinary performance. Craig Lowndes and Brad Jones, a great job in 0.15 to finish second, holding up the Holden flag. Lowndes, the wheel of the Holden Racing Team Chevy. This guy has an enormous amount of natural talent, and if they can capture that, harness it, he is going to be quite a formidable opponent.
If he doesn't learn anything working alongside Peter Brock, it'd be a silly boy, and I don't think that's the case. He's handling a nice mark there.
Sure is.
Time's coming down all the time.
The exit beneath the brick stops the clock. The time he had to beat was a 2:12.54, 2:11.55.
Welcome back to V8 Extra. Craig Lowndes doing some of his finest work at Mount Panorama, so keep the applause going. Let's welcome to the stage Craig Lowndes. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's not often I get to push these guys aside.
Give them a quick elbow, grab a bit of space. Hey, you had great success at Mount Panorama right from the beginning. On the podium in 1994, pole as we just saw in 95, and then you won the damn thing in 1996. Well done.
Thank you, but there was a dry spell right after that for about 10 years. So,
I remember.
Look, it was one of those things as a kid growing up. Bathurst is always the ultimate circuit that we all want to win. You know, watching these guys run around when I was a baby, and of course my dad being involved, so heavily involved with the behind the scenes, the scrutineering, sort of going up there from time to time, seeing it for what it is, understanding how big the track is, then finally get a drive in '94.
When you look at your total number of race starts up there versus your not only your finishes but your wins, the numbers are very, very strong. You love the place, don't you?
Well, I do. It's one of those circuits where it really captures you. It's something that's, you know, a bit over 6 kilometres of racetrack, the elevation, height, everything else. But I, have to say, in '94, watching some of that vision, I haven't aged a day, but it's one of those things that, grey hair. One of those things that I struggled. Like, I remember going there. I was, with HRT. I was with Brad Jones. I was out of my depth. I had really about 1.5 seconds to find per lap to get anywhere near that was the speed of what these guys were running at. And through Brock and everything else, as we got through the week, actually managed to find the speed. And of course, passing Bowie there right at the end was really what started my career.
It was a huge moment that we celebrate to this very day. Now, you helped cement this bloke as a hero at one point too, because you guys got together on the start line at 1995, head-butted each other. He got a puncture and then did the all-time comeback from stone motherless last to race win. So you contributed. Well done.
But I think that's what the place is all about. Like, it doesn't matter where you qualify, whatever happens, you've got 161 laps, bit over 6 hours of driving, multiple changes, multiple strategies, weather, everything that all comes into part of Bathurst. And, when you've got a good car, it doesn't matter where you start, you come through the field.
Larry, what did you think when this young bloke turned up on the scene and you got this fresh-faced kid blazing around next in the HRT car? Did you want to give him a bit of an elbow and get him out of the way?
Well, when he ran to me, we hadn't even gone 50 yards into the race, and I've got a flat tyre from his exhaust pipe going into my tyre.
Yeah. Which means I was in front.
Was that only your second? I should have gone like that.
Yeah, that's right. He was a rookie. You could have given him a real cuff under the ear.
Wasn't until today I realised that. Yeah.
As I said to the other two gents, Craig, the place can bite. I want you to have a look at some vision that we've got here from a few years ago. Check this out.
See the car in the background, it was Craig Lowndes. So that wheel was bouncing on the run, exiting turn 2, bouncing on the run up towards the cutting, and it somehow bounced its way into the path of Craig Lowndes. There's the damage on the 888 car. Unbelievably bad luck.
Ouch. That was amazing. You turned it into an open wheeler.
Well, we weren't going so well before that. We were going a lot worse after that.
Yeah.
But, that was one of those moments where we had a really good car to begin with. Pulled umbrella, I think he just left the pits and come out. I'm not sure what happened to him in through turn 2. Obviously hit the wall, the wheel come off. I remember the debris everywhere on the ground, seeing the wheel go across from my left to right. But then all of a sudden I didn't realise it hit the wall and come back. And I always tell this story whenever I go anywhere, because it was Larry's wheel off Larry's car, but what saved me was Larry's bar.
That's all right. Very good. That's very good. Quite poetic. Well done. Now, you pride yourself on engineering. I could see you grimacing when you see one of your cars there with the wheel popping off, and you're not happy.
Well, I can't remember why Paul conked out there, but it was amazing that it did come off and hit that bar. For those of you who don't know, that Larry bar was the diagonal bar across the windscreen, and I had a big fight with authorities to make that legal for all of us. But in that case, I think you were pretty thankful you would have had it.
Oh, it actually turned the bar into a banana. It hit the wheel, hit the bonnet, and had like a skid mark up the bonnet. Hit the windscreen. As I said, Larry bar is the only thing that stopped the tyre coming into the car beside me, which it would have been literally right here. We popped the windows out. and we went racing again. So
Did you finish that year? What happened then?
we did actually finish.
Yeah.
We're about 8 kilometres slower in a straight line.
And you had a few bugs on your bike.
Yeah, bugs all over me.
Trying to see where you're going.
We had Ivan Muller with us, and he'd been complaining up to that point that the cars are so damn hot inside. So we took the windows out for
You
him.
fixed that. We're nearly out of time, but you went up there with FPR, which I find ironic, because these days we see in the Team Vodafone car, we don't think of you as being in FPR cars, but you still didn't deliver Cito a win.
No, we were so close, and I was really disappointed because, you know, Glenn is a good friend. He's tried so damn hard to make Bathurst a victory, and we all know how great it feels when you do win one, but not to capture one for Glenn for so many years was really disappointing. We had 2 seconds, it just wasn't going to be happening.
All right, stay with us. We've got another legend coming out after the break. Mark Skaife is going to join us. Let's go to the break and celebrate some of Skaife's early success. This is V8 Extra.
Expecting some fireworks here. Skaife was doing some sensational laps earlier in the week. Total concentration from the youngster.
Down towards the dipper now.
Comes out of there like a missile.
Screaming down towards Caltech's chase. Dancing over the road, but it is quick. Well, it's payday early for Nissan as Mark Skaife comes across to take the checkered flag. That puts 2 Nissans on the front row for the Tooheys 1000 tomorrow.
I think this is Skaife at the wheel.
It is too.
Skaife's going for it. He's a funny fellow, and I think one of the better young talents we have around the place. But he's driving like there's no tomorrow at the moment here.
Oh no, it's been great driving for Nissan this year, and thanks a lot to all our sponsors. I think Yokohama and BP and Nissan Motor Company, they've done a great job. But congratulations to Dick and ANZ today. They've done a super job. Thank you.
Welcome back to V8 Extra. That was a very young Mark Skaife. His very first podium at Bathurst back in 1989. So what we'll do now is we'll bring him out. Would you please welcome 6-time winner Mark Skaife. Hey buddy, how are you?
Gentlemen,
Meet my friends.
meet my friends. Sir Craig.
Hey, how's you there? You look like you're about 10 years old.
I know, I was.
Now, that's 25 years ago. Sorry to be the bearer of bad numbers, but it's a while ago.
It is a while ago, 25 years, and that was a bit of a weird start because 1987, it stopped on the first lap, which is not a good start to your Bathurst career.
It's not a good start to your Bathurst career.
If you parked on the side of the road at Conrod on lap 1, it's not a really good act.
I was going to ask you that. That was a Nissan Gazelle of all fire-breathing monsters that you made your debut in 1987, and it was a weird little mobile, and I can remember you testing this car out at Calder and driving the wheels off. It was a great little car.
It was a great little car. You know, it's a 2-litre. It only had about 310 or 320 horsepower, which was just enough for me to hurt myself in those days. And it was a really well-balanced, great car to learn in. But at Bathurst that year, although it was quite fast, it was in the same category as the BMW M3s. So it was nowhere near as speedy as those cars, and when it stopped on lap 1, you can't believe my attitude.
I remember the back of the head there too, Fred Gibson. That was very Fred Gibson looking at him at the front of the car there. Now, the interesting thing for you was you were supposed to make your debut in 1986 with Peter Williamson, who debuted Sevens Race Cam back in the late 70s, and Pete was involved in that awful incident where he got a whack from a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, so that was 86. He was... The Toyota Supra was a really good car. He did a really nice job of preparing it, and in practice on the Thursday had a massive crash. Do you remember that? At the end of Conrod Straight, went off the road, crashed down through the left-hand side, and ended up, totally destroyed the car. But the fire extinguisher come loose and gave him a hit in the dial, which didn't do him any good.
No fun at all.
No.
Now, memorable moments. We could sit here literally all day long and tell plenty of tales, but one of the things, and I'm not going to bag you because he's expecting me to bag him.
It's coming.
It's not. I'm not.
It's coming.
Why would I, Mark? Please. Battle with Larry in 1993, I think it was. I recall that was one of the all-time stoushes, and as a fan as well as a participant at the time, it was a great thing to watch. Great to witness.
Well, it certainly was. I mean, actually, LP and I talk about it quite a lot because at the time it was the closest finish of all time. Without safety cars, and it wasn't just a battle. I mean, we see now the strategy about Bathurst is being in the contest with 20 or 30 laps to go with safety car intervention most times at the end of the race. But that race was all day, and Richo and I, in fact, there was a lap car reasonably close to the end, and Jimmy had to go down the escape road, which gave LP a little reprieve. But it was a great race, wasn't it, mate?
It was, yep.
Did you enjoy it? Was it good having a good stash with him?
Well, it wasn't. I think it started to drizzle with rain right at the end, and we had a bit of pit stop strategy. You guys were waiting for me to come in if I was going to put wets on or slicks and so on. But it was a very exciting race, yeah.
On the subject of memorable moments, I am going to give him a tiny, weeny little uppercut here. Have a look at this back in 1992.
It was a triumph out there today because they were the most adverse conditions that you could possibly have experienced.
Well, it was, but like we led the race all day. I can't believe this, you know, like the Nissan Winfield, we've won the race. That's how it is.
OK, do you remember the bloke? The guy on the left-hand side of screen is a guy called Michael Weslink. He was the CEO of Tui's at the day. He was very good at handing me Tui's cans behind the podium, which I was filling up my jacket, saying to Jimmy that if they start throwing cans at us, I was going to throw some back. And Jimmy said, "Don't worry, Skaife, I'll handle it. It'll all be fine." And his famous line come out very soon after that.
Yeah, it did. And when the famous line did come out, I can distinctly remember you had a look on your face. It was ashen. He was frozen in time.
I was ducking cans. That's what I was doing.
That's right. How did you get on that night?
It wasn't that good. Actually, I mean, to be serious, that was one of the wildest days at Bathurst of all time. The rain was unbelievable. There was no visibility. Denny Holm died that day in that race, which really knocked Jim Richards around. He's a really good friend of his. And the visibility was so bad at one stage, I ran into the back of the safety car. So, you know, you couldn't see 1 metre in front of you sometimes. So it was a very, very, you know, a disturbing race in one way, but a great race in the other. And
always the responsibility of the person following to give sufficient space too, Mark, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain.
How did that go with your insurer? Now, what about those that got away? Because everybody sitting here with us now has got tales to tell about those that got away. And there's been a few of those for you. I remember the issue with the door flapping. What year was that?
2003, wasn't it? And Bowie gave it a fire in the back door, and the door then come open, which they decided to leave us out there for ages before they'd give us a penalty. So that basically took us out of the race. But there was lots of other years. I mean, 97 with Brock, 95 was a great race. Like we were almost going to lap Larry at one stage before it broke a tail shaft. There were so many races over the years. In fact, Craig and I, we had a puncture in 1998. Yes. And put us off the road right near the end. We had a 40-second lead. So there were so many of those years. I mean, that's the thing about Bathurst. It can be such a great race, but it can also be so cruel.
And you went pretty close with our next guest, Greg Murphy, there a few years ago in 09, which people have forgotten. Of course, last year was only by Maxwell Smart, this much.
I didn't know what you were going to say there. It was pretty close, wasn't it?
We're going to take a break. Behave yourself. And when we come back, Greg Murphy is going to join us, of course. Murph has had tremendous success at Mount Panorama.
Opportunities. Holdsworth will not go without a fight.
It's been all-out attack for Greg Murphy. We've loved every second of it. It's going to go down to the final corner for him, trying to get a podium spot.
He's on him.
Round at the chase.
And now Lee has to be defensive. It'll be on at the last corner here. Tander's going to win it. But how can you take your eyes from this? Unbelievable.
Garth Tander and Will Davison are the 2009 champions.
Boy, oh boy, that could have been a major moment then.
Got to stop in the pit bay for 5 minutes. Repeat, 5 minutes.
The face of a very disappointed Kiwi. A mix-up with the fuel pump is going to cost them 5 minutes of race time. Smack bang in the middle of this race while they're in second position. Can you believe it?
Welcome back to V8 Extra. Pretty cranky Greg Murphy there back in 2002.
Hope you're enjoying the show. It is our celebration of 50 years of Mount Panorama in our V8 Extra today. So now let us bring Gregory Murphy out. Welcome, Greg Murphy.
Hey, mate. Hey, mate. How are you? Meet my buddies.
Gentlemen, move down. Move down.
Hi, mate. 5 minutes, Murph. 5 minutes. That's all you've got.
I've got another hand gesture I'd like to show you, Skaife.
4 wins, but...
Thanks for the highlights.
Yeah, sorry. Well, we'll get to the highlights, but I know you ducked off to the toilet in the middle of all that. What were you doing? I don't mean that in an improper way.
You climb out of the car because you're not going to sit in there for 5 minutes. Then you go, what do I do now?
Well, we wondered whether or not you were angry or whether you actually, you had.
I was slightly perturbed. You know, it wasn't the finest moment in my Bathurst history. But you climb out of the car and then you run around and you go, where am I going to go? And I thought, oh well, that's good as place.
Yeah, just go in there, and we've got a couple out here. You can dive into.
Exactly. I was feeling pretty, crap at the time, so I might as well go on the crap.
Greg, the way in which you clicked with the place back all those years ago was remarkable. Incredible success, but the first time you turned up was in a Toyota Carina of all things, which was a bit like Skaife's story, is hardly a weapon.
No, it wasn't, but I got it was a pretty good story. There it is right there. And, the thing was actually very good in the wet. We had some great tyres on the car, and in the wet at Bathurst, it started incredibly wet that day in 1994. And, I was in the thing and I came up behind one LP, and he was slip-sliding around, and we were actually faster up, around the tight stuff at that time, up the straights. The V8 had disappeared, but got up behind this guy, and he's waving out the window. His arms out the window, waving, and going all over the place. I'm like, what's he up to? What's LP waving at? I'm thinking this is going really good.
The crowd.
No. He wasn't happy that there was this little buzz box behind him, threatening to try and, go past. So it was entertaining, but that is definitely history.
You put together a win pretty early in your career with this guy here. What was the impact of that? Young guy, racing driver from New Zealand, making your way into the big time. That, I imagine, was a pretty big thing for you.
Oh, massive, it was hard to believe to be able to be there a couple of years in and team up with the Holden racing team and Lowndes and go and win this race. I mean, after all the history over the many years sitting at home in New Zealand watching this race and to be a part of it, and then the whole idea of being on the podium and holding that trophy up was just surreal, absolutely surreal, and it took a long time for it to sink in, as I'm sure it did with Craig.
What about mega drives for you? Memorable drives where you've blazed through the field, and sometimes in our caper it's not always associated with a win, is it, boys? I mean, sometimes it can be a climb back through the field. You may not have even got on the podium.
No, we didn't, and 2009 with Skaife was probably one of those situations that, it's the way things work out. The old safety car comes out. We were out of the race. It's sort of, about a third of the way into it. Safety car had chucked us out the back door. And then we got back in it because of one, and then finally, looking odds on to be on the podium and possibly win that race in 2009. And one just turned up, safety car at that wrong moment, and we missed pit lane and we were down the back, and that was one of the most drives that I remember the most. Very rewarding. We came from, I think, about 13th or 14th back to finish 1,000th of a second or something behind Lee Holdsworth on the last lap, and I remember those ones. I remember them more than, say, even last year. Watching old Buggerlugs here and Garth disappear down in the distance down the road. You finished on the podium, but it wasn't. You didn't have any control that day. It was just you were, managed to get a result, but it wasn't a memorable as say some of those drives as you mentioned.
You always end up standing tall in the saddle at Bathurst, so I mean, I don't know what it is. It can't be just a set-up thing. Some of it must be inside the helmet. You just perform when you go there.
I don't know what it is, and then maybe some of these guys will be able to help you out with that answer. But it's
missing ingredient.
It's the milk from New Zealand that helps.
New Zealand cows.
Well, I mean, '96. Alan Moffat was doing the commentary, and if you want to listen to some funny stuff, second to last stint, I was in the car, and he's commentating, and he's gone, well, I just passed Dick Johnson. He's like, well, I don't know, but I don't know who this young guy is from New Zealand, but for those in New Zealand that are still awake...
And that's not because of the time difference.
That big 2-hour time difference. For those of you that are still awake, you should be watching this. And it's some of the most funniest commentary. And Alan had no idea who I was, and I knew who he was. But there was some good stuff.
We'll take a break on V8 Extra. As we go to the break, we'll celebrate victories for all of these guys. And when we come back, we'll let them cut loose and have a bit of a chat about what Bathurst means to them. Stay with us.
Moffat now. Victory is his. So, Moffat and Ford take the Bathurst crown.
And the throats of all the fans. Perkins. One of the best victories. He's done it in the new V8 Formula. Larry Perkins wins the Tooheys 1000.
6.2 kilometres of Mount Panorama for Craig Lowndes as he sets off in the #1 Mobile Commodore. And Craig Lowndes wins the 1996 AMP Bathurst 1000.
Hey, the last 10 laps have been an extraordinary story of just holding on to what you've got. And Mark Skaife will go back to back at Bathurst. He secures another Australian touring car title.
And this win has been just about as clean as the new look Mount Panorama buildings. It's Murphy and Kelly make it 2 in a row.
Beauty, mate. Well done. Great drive.
This is the last lap of the race. Unbelievable. They're virtually at the point of paint exchange.
Can Tander hold on and get his third Bathurst Championship?
This is for the biggest prize in Australian motor racing.
This is the year of the rookie and the pro. Tander and Nick Perker are the champions.
The sympathy auto Bathurst 1000 2011.
An extraordinary motor race and a very tiny margin in the final analysis, and here's hoping we get one of those very shortly when we next go back to Mount Panorama. Boys, there was a whisker in it at the end of last year's race, and I know that for each of you, as I said before, there's a million stories attached to this place, but I kind of want to delve into what it means. Alan, I'll start with you. Best drive and in combination with what Mount Panorama Bathurst means to you.
In 1969, when Ford hired me, I was lead driver in the third car. They'd gone up there with 3 GTHOs. And I was immediately involved with the circuit because it has got a tremendous aura. And it's something that the New South Wales government and the Australian government have never really pushed. I asked Jackie Higgs when he came out, what do you really think, mate, about this? He said, Alan, it's a mini Nürburgring. It's a fabulous circuit. It's something that we should all be praying to everybody. It really is. And that very first year, I said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to get on top of it. And we didn't do so well the first year.
Larry, for you?
Well, I went there as a kid, you know, like many of us, I imagine. When I was 15, drove 800k from the farm to watch Bathurst. And in those days, you don't think one day you're going to be on the other side of the fence. But to get the other side of the fence and start tasting success early, as we said earlier, it's just fantastic. It's hard to describe what a personal pleasure it is. And, you know, then you go on to your sort of really memorable bits, and you know, I go to the 95 race with the flat tyre, as we again said earlier, and you end up winning it. It's sort of hard to remember. It's hard to think that actually happened. You know, it's such a cherished memory.
Mark, when you look back over an incredible career there, you know, moments that are going to mean a lot to you, have you been able to single one out as the defining moment and what it's meant to you in your life?
Well, I think what the guys are saying is a lot about the event and the racetrack, and for me, probably 2002 with Jimmy Richards, after winning it 10 years prior, and obviously it'd be great for Jim to be with us tonight. You know, obviously had a great success rate there. And he did a really remarkable job. He was 55 when he drove that year, and didn't put a foot wrong. We were in contention all day, and for 10 years on, to go and win it with your mate like that was fantastic. Same sort of thing with Craig. You know, those sorts of wins, when they're quite symbolic, I think they make a big difference in terms of the way you feel about it.
Craig, your thoughts?
Oh, look, I think we're all going to say the same thing. I think the amazing thing is that you have early success, but then, like, you know, Mark just said, you have 10 years of struggle, determination, different teams, try to make it happen again, and then you get a string of wins after that. That's what the special part of it is. The post, I suppose, for me, the most memorable one, obviously, was with Mark. You know, he popped the rib out. I had to drive that long stint, basically half the race, come back out, and of course his rib's still poking out, and we're all giving him high fives and cuddles and everything else. But those are the special ones.
Murph?
I just don't think you start that race, sit on the grid, you know, revs come up, lights go on. You just don't even think you can win it, because it's such a big day.
It's complex, isn't it?
It is so hard, and so many things can happen. So many things can go wrong. It's so close. The fights are just so memorable. I mean, every Bathurst has got so many stories. And you start that day going, you know, how am I going to, how can I win this race? And at the end of it, you come around, you start that last lap if you're in the car or you're sitting in the pit there waiting for your teammate to do it, and you still, until he comes around the last corner, you can't believe that it's possible.
You dare not to believe.
You dare not to believe, and exactly right. And the first one, the second one, the third one, all of them are exactly the same. You just start those races, and you know, having the awesome sort of situation of winning them back to back. You can't believe 2 years in a row you can win a Bathurst 1000.
Super quick one, boys. A Big Pond Sport email question here from Dean Brown, who wants to know, apart from all the success stuff, anybody want to volunteer a quirky story, a weird thing, something weird that's happened to them before, during or after the event? And they'll all go quiet.
Craig Lowndes stuffed it up in '97 for us and crashed in the fence.
You remember that?
Cruel. Controversy.
Actually, no, I remember doing that, getting out, and there was this young kid on the fence line, and I got out, and of course, you know, I'm really down because, you know, I've let him down, I've let the team down, everything else, and this little kid is
let yourself down.
I let myself down. Oh, well, I knew that. Standing at the fence line, he's like, he's all excited, and like I always remember what I was like. He's like, signature. So I'm like, oh god damn, yeah, okay. He's like, no, you want mine. And with that, he took it.
Well done, great yarn.
There we go.
Folks have enjoyed being with these guys today. It's been a pleasure. Would you please thank Mark Skaife, Alan Moffat, Larry Perkins, Craig Lowndes and Greg Murphy. Our superstars. It's been a great privilege to be with the guys today. Thank you, boys. Our next event is the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. Big coverage on 7, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We'll wrap it all up the following week on V8 Extra. And of course, there's one seat empty tonight because we can't possibly leave this program without paying tribute to our special friend whose winning legacy at Mount Panorama will always be remembered.
Listen to the spectator reaction as Peter Brock, the king of the mountain.
You asked for the man, you asked for him, it's Peter Brock!
Those were the days, that's when they really sorted you out, I can tell you.
And Peter Brock goes across the line to win the 1972 Hardy Paredo 500.
Peter Brock now leads the race. An incredible performance from this very, very talented driver, Peter Brock. The checkered flag for Peter Brock, 5 Hardy Frodo successes. And the crowd really giving Peter Brock a send-off. Checkered flag at the ready, and the king of the mountain, Peter Brock, number 05, going across the line. And a 1-2 for the dealer team to win the 1984 James Hardy 1000.
We've had some good fun, haven't we?